All right, everybody. Y'all know what time it is. It's Monday night, and we are back with another episode of the Reentry Journey. I'm Kardell Sims, your host, the founder of the Reentry Support Group. Tonight, our guest, I'd like to welcome to our Monday podcast. Let me get it together. I'd like to welcome to our podcast. Our guest for this week is Jen Wolf. She's going to share her story with us. She's going to let us know everything that she's been through and what it was like before, during, and after prison on her reentry journey. I really appreciate you tuning in with us tonight, being here with us. Thank you a lot for accepting my invitation as well. Go ahead and introduce yourself to our group and to the people that's watching.
My name is Jennifer Wolf. I'm 40 years old. I live in Kansas City, Missouri, and by way of Louisiana. So, I've been out of prison. I just made 3 years out of prison. October 6th was my 3 years out.
Okay, and so in Kansas City, yeah,
Yeah.
it's right down the road. So you say, so this means you just 3 years out, right?
Yes.
You came from Louisiana. How did you end up in Kansas City?
So when I didn't know anybody here, and when it came time to get out of prison, I had some open drug cases in another county here, so I couldn't parole back to my family out of state. So I had to stay here in state. By the time I got to prison, I was alone, so I didn't have any financial support or anything. And the only place I could find was in Kansas City that would take me without paying money to get in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what was your life like before prison? What led you to prison?
I got caught up in drug addiction and everything that comes along with it, running the streets, stealing, robbing, anything to get money just out of my mind. Every kind of drug. I progressed from doing powder cocaine, pills and powder cocaine to IV, anything that I could shoot up, I was shooting up.
All right. So prior to you going to prison, you was caught up in the street life,
Yeah.
Drug abuse, and this is everything that comes with the street life that we know as, being former criminals and addicts and everything, just kind of like everyday life, or what we think is everyday life when we grow up in that situation. So when you went to prison, what was the charge and what led you to prison?
So this time, I had first degree burglary. I had 3 cases and 7 different felonies against me. The last arrest was for first degree burglary and armed criminal action. And then they had some pending cases they went ahead and hit me with when I was in there on those charges for burglary, second degree burglary, stealing a car, and stealing guns.
All right. So while in prison, what was it like when you first went to prison? Your first prison experience.
So
What was it like?
my very first one was actually the judge sentenced me to a 120 treatment in-house treatment. Um, it was different. It wasn't like a real treatment. It was basically survival of the fittest. It was a favoritism contest. If they liked you, you could successfully complete because it was peer ran. So if the peers didn't like you, they could get you booted out of the program and you get your backup sent to the yard and get your backup. But I got placed in a room with the top peers in the unit, and so I never got rode up for anything. So I made it out successfully, and I didn't learn anything. It wasn't a punishment and it wasn't a treatment, so it wasn't 30 days and I was right back in the streets.
Right. Oh, and you know how to do a pull up and push up, though, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, good job.
You learned a few image busters, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, I
I got a
know that.
behavior contract like 2 or 3 times, but it was because the staff caught me doing something, so they made me write myself up.
Oh, okay. You had to pull
Yeah,
yourself up. Yeah,
yeah,
I know about that treatment. I did a few treatments myself when I was running in and out of prison.
yeah,
Had to do the steamy teapot and all that.
yeah.
So I definitely. So you went and did the treatment. You go do the 120 treatment. Like you said, it really didn't do nothing for you. You weren't preparing yourself. So when you was released from the 120 treatment, what did you just get right back into the same stuff?
No, I I half-assed doing okay. I went to a couple NA meetings because at that time I was like smoking crack and drinking and running the streets. And I went to a few NA meetings, and one of the very first ones I went to, I was catching the bus, and one of the men at the meeting offered to give me a ride, and I told him, I didn't know any better. I was like, okay. And he started propositioning me in the ride. And I told him, I don't think that was a good idea. And he kept pressuring me, and I got dropped off at the crack house.
Right. Okay.
Hmm.
And so now it's back in the full swing. I mean, because when I went to do my treatment, when I got out, I just went right back to the block, hustling,
Yeah.
selling crack, gang banging. I was right back in full swing, probably within 30 days, maybe quicker than that. I mean, because like I said, I went to the treatment and I didn't really learn nothing. I did my 120. I got out. Judge approved me to get out, and it was right back on. Um, so now you back in the thing. So what led you to go back to prison after that?
I had just some different, like, I had no security in my life. No, like, I didn't have my roots down anywhere. And so I'm bouncing around from house to house, man to man, and all this stuff. And just, I ended up getting so far down in my addiction. My dad passed away, and I got like a large sum of money. And in active addiction and getting a large amount of money was not a good idea. And like I burned through the money, ended up going to jail, losing house, my car, everything that I bought. And I wasn't being a good mom, not sending my kids to school like they should have been. And so I contacted family in Missouri to help me because I thought the state was going to take my kids and stuff. I had one of my kids with me. So I ended up coming back to Missouri, and that's when I got introduced to meth. And it wasn't the same like as doing crack, and so it was very quickly I was using IV meth, and that was a whole nother, like, a whole different game. And so I just started running the streets in up here and committing crimes and robbing and things like that. And I was in and out of jail. Probably, I think the newspaper said like 9 times that year I was in and out of the county jail. It was like a
Oh wow.
revolving door.
Right. Oh yeah. So yeah, you was out there in full swing,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah.
so so you was in and out of jail that year 9 times,
Yeah.
but you just weren't making it back to prison yet. So
No.
what was that one final straw that the judge was just like, you know what? I'm tired of seeing you coming in and out this county. Like, come on, go on, do your time.
Well, I ended up becoming good friends with the bondsman. And this last time that I went, I called her from booking, and I was on a 24-hour hold. And I told her, when they released this hold, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get charged because I'd just gotten out of jail for something similar to it like 3 days before, something like that. And so I told her, come get me when when the amount gets posted. And so when they came and served me the warrant, they knew I would always bond out, and they made my bond so high that she couldn't even get me out. And so I sat in county for 2 years, and I'm fighting this case. And I had a public defender that I actually went through 3 different public defenders in the time that I was there. There was a year period where I didn't even see a judge.
Oh
And
wow.
so, yeah. And so I'm just sitting in this maximum security jail. And finally, after about 2 years, I calculated in my head I could just cop out to the charges and go to prison and get out on parole before I could fight the case. So that's what happened.
All right. So man, so you sit in the county jail. Did you say 3 years?
2.
2 years. Woo.
Almost 2.
Almost 2 years. So you sit in the county jail. You're knowing that you about ready to go to prison. What now that you're able to look back on it, what do you think it was that kept you like with me? I was going in and out of jail, in and out of prison. And I realized that I really didn't have no expectations for myself at the time. Now looking back on it right now, what was it that you think was the reason why you kept going back and forth to jail that year with your addiction?
Yeah, it was that, and just by this time, by the last time I ended up in jail, I had lost every single thing around me, from death to my kids being separated across the country in 2 different places. My family, I basically burned all my bridges with my family. Like I was completely alone. I had nobody but me. I just messed up everything in my life.
Okay. So you messed up everything. You done lost a lot of stuff, death, money, family. You going into prison. Again, this ain't no treatment this time though.
Mm-mm.
Well, so what's your thought process walking in?
Um, my thoughts were, damn, when are they going to let me out of here? I'm probably going to be sitting here for a while because, like on paper, my case looked really bad, and I knew that when the board saw it, it it looked really bad. Like I didn't think they were going to let me out, and so I was honestly my first thoughts were I was in hustle mode. Like I said, I didn't have any financial support, so I'm looking around on how I can get money. I started in county, collecting things that I could take and flip when I got to prison. And then I'm immediately trying to get into jobs there to try to get as much money. And if it wasn't going to pay me money, I was going to make money off the job. So,
Right.
yeah.
So I remember you saying while you did the treatment that when you got out, you weren't prepared. So during this prison bid, when did you start preparing yourself?
I mean, when I was in county, I knew that I remember sitting in the county jail and being so hungry because hell, I probably hadn't eaten in 2 years because I was so high and drinking. And I remember laying in that cell feeling suicidal and starving to death. Like my stomach was eating my back because I was so malnourished. And I remember consciously telling myself, remember how you feel right now. Like, because I don't ever want to feel this way again. And I knew that it was just a horrible feeling hours on end. And all I could think about is how hungry I am and how alone I was. And so I started seeking out different spiritual things, like because I knew there was something missing and I just didn't know how to get my footing. And I did have a spiritual awakening in county jail. But I just made a decision, a conscious decision. I was not coming back no matter what it took. I knew I wasn't going to NA again, but I was going to figure out something to keep me from going back down that path no matter what, hell or high water. I was changing my life.
Right. And so why you made the decision to say that you weren't going to NA again?
Because of the situation I had with the guy,
Right.
doing those things to me. And then another time I was outside a meeting and a guy came up and tried to proposition me. And I'm just, and I remember sitting in there and, to each his own. I feel like whatever works for somebody, do that. But it doesn't, for me, that's just not my thing.
Right.
And, I would sit there and Jones the whole time I'd be in there. So I knew I had to find something different,
Okay.
whether
Right.
it was extreme sports, whatever. I had to find something
All right.
to get my life
So
together.
you're doing your prison bid. How long was you actually in prison?
I was there for about 4 or 5 months once I hit the yard.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
because the board had to see me pretty quickly after I got there because I'd sat in county for
You
all
said
that
the
time.
county all that time.
Mhm.
Exactly. And so now you see the board, they give you a release date. What's your mindset? What are you looking like? What are you thinking when it's time for you to be released?
What am I going to do? What am I going to do? But like I said, I knew that no matter what, I wasn't coming back. No matter what it took, I was going to do this thing differently. And I reflected on everything that I had tried prior, the other prison stints, the other treatments that I'd done, everything that I had tried to do before. I wasn't going to do it like that again. So I knew
Right.
this had to be different.
Okay. So you walk out. Something got to be different than the previous times you walked out. So you get out. You starting your reentry journey for the. Well, I mean, what's this for the? How many time was this on this
This was the
reentry journey?
second time out of
So
prison, but out of
yeah,
jail.
right. So yeah, we're gonna
Countless.
count. So we count them times, them 9 times plus that you that
Yeah.
you get out of county jail. So you got out of jail. You started a reentry journey on several different occasions. But you got your mind made up that this is gonna be the last reentry journey right here.
Yeah.
So you get out on this reentry journey. What did you do?
So the prison officials dropped me off at the Greyhound. I had absolutely nothing to my name but the Puppies for Parole t-shirt and them cop pants that the prison put me in a little brown envelope. Yeah, that's it. I had nothing. They didn't even give me my doggone $5 they were supposed to give me when I left. Like I had nothing. And the lady came and picked me up from the sober living house, and we went to a clothing closet, and I got some clothes, and I just started looking for a job, and I got a job at the worst restaurant in Kansas City, like nothing but drugs and robberies and everything going on. But I knew that I had to just stay focused on my goals of not going back to prison. I didn't care what it took. So I just put my blinders on. I don't care how much weed they were smoking, how many drug deals they were doing. I was like this. And, but I didn't stop looking for a better job. Even though I got that one, I continued every day putting in applications at better places. And so I got a job at a better restaurant that was a higher end, better clientele, better customers. But I didn't stop there. I continued after I got that job looking for better jobs. I did not give up. And I got plenty of job offers at well paying jobs, and they made the offers. But then when the background check would come back, or sorry, we can't, give you this job. But there were a couple times I might have got discouraged because I was like, dang, that was really good money. But I kept a positive attitude. Well, that one wasn't for me. One more no
Right.
was I'm closer to a yes, and then I ended up just networking. I started networking with people in different fields, and ironically, the lady who picked me up from the Greyhound ended up getting a job in the mental health field. And she told me that they were hiring for a driver at this like drug treatment center. And so she asked me if I wanted to apply for it. And I was like, yeah. And so she told me to email the supervisor. Well, there were some delays with him getting back to me. Well, between him getting back with me and me purchasing a car and getting my valid driver's license, I had an old DWI pop up. And so they took my license as soon as I, got they took it from me as soon as I had gotten it.
Oh
And
wow.
so the man emailed me right after that and asked me if I was still interested in a job. And I was like, well, does it involve, in driving? And he was like, no. So I ended up 7 months out of prison. I went for this job interview at the drug treatment center, and the counselor was interviewing me, and it was a counselor. So I ended up just telling this man my whole life story about how I was basically an IV needle junkie and all of this stuff. And when I left out, I was like, oh my God, these people are never going to hire me. Like I
Right.
just told this man what kind of like bottom of the barrel person I was. And I found out when I left, he told his coworker, he was like, I have to hire her before someone else gets their hands on her. And that's what happened. 7 months out of prison on parole, against all odds, they should not have been able to hire me according to policy. But because the way I presented myself and my passion for helping people, he got me in. He got HR to hire me. And I was with them for about a little over 2 years and got promoted to a different position with them. And now I've gotten another job that I transferred over to as a recovery coach and peer support specialist, because part of the death that I experienced when I was out there was my boyfriend died from a heroin overdose.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so I utilize what is supposed to hold me down and keep me from being successful to actually elevate me to success, because the field that I'm in, that's what they want. They want people that have a gritty background and have it shaken back from it. And so it's worked for my benefit.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, you think one of the big reasons that they hired you was because that you had been through that? You know, that I mean, there's no better teaching than someone that can relate and been through exactly. You said you talking about at a substance abuse place, was it?
Yeah, it's a drug
Yeah,
treatment center.
drug treatment center. So yeah, so what did that feel like personally? Like you got out, you 7 months, went through these ups and downs. People done hired you, and then they had to let you go because of your background. You get your license, then you lose your license. You know what I'm saying? And then you finally get this job, and that in your mind, there's no way I'm finna get this job. And then they give you the job. What was that feeling like? Like,
I was so excited that somebody gave me a chance. Like, look past what's on this paper. Like, see me for a person, see me for making a change, see me for the passion and the intelligence that I have, not for a mistake I made when I was in a drug induced stupor.
right,
So it was just at a mistake. Like, people come back from stuff all the time. Why can't so you accept that I've changed? And I would get frustrated and I would want to call these HR departments like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you look past this? But I knew that wasn't going to solve anything. So I just, it gave me more motivation to continue moving forward and continue doing more applications, sending my resume into more places, tweaking my resume to make it a little better. I used my prison, jobs on my resume. I went to
right.
one job interview. She was like, "So you worked at Chillicothe Correctional Center?" And I was like, "Yep." She was like, "Okay." She was like, "I bet that was tough, working, around all those, felons and stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, it was real rough." And I just kept moving right along on the interview.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I know how
unless
that
they
is
straight
because
up ask,
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's how I used to put my when I was in the state yeah, when I was locked up in Missouri, when I was locked up in I used to work at the governor's mansion. So when I got out, I used to put that on my on my resume, and people were like, "Man, you
Mhm.
worked there? How'd you get that job at the how'd you get that job at the governor's mansion?" I'd be like, "Hey, it's a long story, but
Yeah.
they never really got into it and things like that." So you get out, your reentry journey is going great. During this time, all the way up until now, after you get the job at the substance abuse treatment center, was there any time that there was a break in everything going great? Was there something might have happened that had you be like, man, I can't believe this happened, and just had you doubting yourself or anything?
Yeah. Okay. So when I was in the transitional house, the it was a couple that ran the place, and the husband, he wasn't right, and I knew that they were going to end up kicking me out. I'd only been out of prison 30 days. I'd only been at my job for like one day. The day I started working my job, I come home and he told her that she needed to kick me out because I wasn't staying in contact throughout the day, even though it was my first day on the job. And I had only met two people here in Kansas City. I didn't know anybody. And one of those people, I kind of reverted back to some old behaviors for a minute because I knew the guy was kind of a mark, and he had a good paying job, and he would let me take his vehicle and I could get around, didn't have to ride the bus. So, but he ended up being like restraining order type material. And
Right,
so that was a bad situation because I was there and then I got the job at the drug treatment center. I'm working the front desk and I'm dealing with this domestic violence stuff. And and mental abuse and things going home and trying to stay sober and trying to, prove myself to my children and things like that. And so it was a lot of stress. And then I found out that he was using drugs. And here I am, I'm in recovery working at a recovery center. And this dude's in here getting high 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, creating problems, keeping me up, screaming and hollering all night long. And it was just a bad situation. And I had to, police got involved a couple times, and that's definitely not what I wanted being on parole. It was rough. But again, no matter what happened, I was not going to go backwards. I was going to let him or anything keep me in the reverse. I'm going forward.
Right.
I got away from it.
Right. So it don't matter what was coming in your way. You already had your mind made up that you were gonna focus on being forward.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You weren't going back to prison, you weren't going back to using, or none of that. You was focused in on being forward. What was your support system like during this time?
I mean, the support I had phone calls and, FaceTime with my kids, because again, they're in 2 different parts of the country. And the people at my job and the clients that I seen every morning, and they would come in, hey, Miss Jen, I got 12 days sober. I got 7 days sober. And those things motivated me. That was my accountability, because these people are looking to me and, for support and motivation. So that in the initial stages of me continuing to do right was remembering those people's faces, remembering my children's faces. And that continued me on the path, because I knew if I continued that way, it would get stronger. And then I'd have my children in person, which both of my kids are here right now.
Oh, that's good. That's good
Yeah.
to hear. So it was something before we went live, we was talking, you was telling me that your PO told you. Can you talk about that?
So I got a job offer at another treatment center, and I was over there having a meeting with the people, and the office for that treatment center is actually downstairs in the same building as the PO's office. So I was like, well, I'm going to run upstairs and just say hi to my PO, because we had gotten that rapport, I established my reputation with her. So it wasn't nothing for me to get on the phone with her and just chat for 30 or 45 minutes about nothing, about life. And so I ran up there to tell her hi, and she, as we're talking, I'm telling her what's going on with my life. And she was like, her jaw's open, and she's like, I'm just amazed. And I'm like, why? She was like, hold on, there's my supervisor. Can I call her over here and introduce you? And I was like, yeah. So the supervisor comes over and she introduced who I was. She was like, you just came out and you blew everything out of the water. She said, you have beat every statistic against you. I can't believe how incredible that you've done. My charges, they didn't qualify for the 30 for 30 early release thing where you get 2 for 1.
You do. Yeah, you 2 for 1.
Yeah, so October 23rd was my 5 years sober, and it was 3 years and a week or so of getting out of prison. And my PO called me and she's like, so how are you? And I was like, oh, I'm good. She was like, yeah, what's going on? I was like, I got 5 years sober today. And she was like, oh, yeah. She's like, well, I got something for you. And I was like, what? She was like, you've been discharged from parole today. It was 2 years early. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like stunned. And probation and parole has invited me to come talk to new orientation people when they're coming out of prison or getting put on probation, because and I'm not tooting my own horn. I just was determined. I wasn't going to let anybody stop me. There's no label that's going to stop me from achieving the goals that I have set for myself and my children.
Right. I mean, you got every right to toot your horn, because a lot of people don't, unless you've been in this journey, unless you've taken that journey or been in this situation, most people don't understand how hard it is to get out of prison and get your life back in order and get it past where it was when you went to prison. Because when I went to prison, or when we went to prison, our life wasn't necessarily, majority of us, I can't say everybody, but I know for me, my life really wasn't in order. Because if it was in order, I would never went to prison. So
Right.
to come from everything that I was going through that led me to prison, going through the county jail, the court system, and the prison experience getting out and trying to make the best out of something without no support and with little resources with a felon tag on your back, that's not no easy task. And
Mm-mm.
so to get to how far that you made it, you have every right to toot your horn. A lot of people we have I got a reentry support group as well, and we be talking. And some people think that uh you could play the race card with it's different from when I'm getting out of prison because I'm a black and you getting out of prison and you're white, that you're able to play the race card. Do you feel that? Did you ever feel like you could play the race card? Did you feel that, or did you even try? Or you just felt like, we all in the same boat. I got the felony. It's nothing different than when you getting out with the felony and then when I'm getting out with the felony.
No, because that situation, it's not about race because we're all labeled felons. When it
Exactly.
comes to the job market, it don't matter what color you are, we're felons. And to a white collar individual who doesn't have any experience with people in a criminal lifestyle or drug addiction or anything like that, they have no understanding. They don't care what color you are. You're a felon. You're a bad guy. You're scary. And so that had nothing to do with it. For me, I utilized my resources. I opened my mouth. I didn't care who it was. I was my my doctors, my anybody in the community. I'm telling them, I just got out of prison. I'm new in Kansas City, and it was word of mouth. Because if I told this person, and for example, I remember sitting in with my doctor's office for 30 minutes, and they're just intrigued by my stories I'm telling them. So their encouragement, and it's from a doctor. I didn't have any other support. These people were encouraging me. And so I used that, and that fed me to go a little bit further. And so then when I went in the community to maybe this agency that helps with hygiene items, and I'm telling them, I just got out of prison. I'm trying to do right. They would tell me, well, have you checked out this organization? And it was just a chain of events where I got plugged into all these different organizations that helped me with this area of things or that area of things, to where in 3 years' time, I've been able to get my mental health certifications, purchase a vehicle. I just purchased my very first home on September the 1st. And
Congratulations.
I've done it all. I'm a single mom of 2 kids,
Right. It's
and it was networking and opening my mouth and being honest, because if people don't know where you're coming from, and when people see that you're trying to change from your old ways, ain't nobody going to support you better. Honestly, from what I found, is a stranger who sees your heart and they're like, dang, she's really trying. And they've helped me to succeed and be where I'm at now, because I didn't keep my mouth shut. Because how is somebody going to help me if they don't know what's going on?
exactly, and I think that's a major strong point that you just said right there. Opening your mouth. I know a lot of people get out and they don't even reach out, ask for help, what I'm saying, share what they're going through. And that's kind of the reason why I started this reentry support group for those that if you don't feel comfortable talking to people that maybe don't know your story or ain't comfortable with people that you feel like wouldn't understand you, then you have the reentry support group. But the reality is you never know who's going to understand you or whatever if you don't open your mouth. So I really like how you covered that.
Yeah.
So you was telling me earlier that you go around and you know what I'm saying, you do some speaking. So what is it? Me being a speaker, I would like to know how do you like doing that?
I enjoy it because I found that you never know who you're going to affect with your story. I got invited to speak at a church one time, and I was excited. It was a women's group, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go share with some people and, let them know about some things. So I get there to the church, and I had some friends of mine meet me up there that wanted to hear. And so I get there, and I promise you, I don't think there was anybody in there younger than 60. And I'm like, how am I going to go in here and tell these little old ladies about the street life that I was living? And so I prayed about it, and I'm like, God, just use me however you want to use me. And so I go in there and I told the best version of my story that I'd ever told. And when I got done, this little bitty tiny, like 70-year-old woman rushes over to me and she gives me a big old hug around my neck. And she said, and she whispered in my ear, she said, I just want you to know that nobody in this room but you knows that I'm a drug addict and I'm in recovery and I needed everything that you shared with me today.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, that, like, you never know. So that, I mean, again, open in your mouth, because I have found, and especially working, being on both sides of it, helping people and people helping me, you never know. Even though somebody might be helping you to get somewhere, you're helping them too. You're blessing them by letting them help you. So it's not just that you're asking for a handout. It's people helping each other.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a major plus. So where do you see yourself going from here?
Up.
That's right.
My goal is to, well, I'm about to put my son through college. And my goal is to open up a transitional house. I have a business model that came to me in a vision that's like none other here where I'm at. And so my goal is to hopefully get some financial backers to help me with opening up this home to help other people coming out of prison and struggling with substance use disorders. So
Right.
that's within 5 years, I will have that.
Okay. And one more question. If it's one thing, one message that you would like to get out, somebody just got released out of prison right now, today. They don't have no support system. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do. What is one thing that you would like to tell them?
You have the ultimate decision in your destiny. So no matter what happens in your life, no matter what's said to you, what's done to you, what doors seem like they're being closed, no matter what, continue putting one foot in front of the other. And before you know it, you would have gone 1,000 miles. That's it.
Man,
One foot in front of the other.
wow. And there it is. That's all it takes is one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
I love your story. It's kind of parallel to mine. Uh, you got out, you challenged your beliefs, and that's all I want to ask that. How did you have to change what you value from when you went to prison to now that once you got released and started on your reentry journey?
Like, how did I change my values?
Yeah, I mean, you might have the same values. Like with me, when I was in the streets, I had good values, but they was just valued towards the wrong things.
Yeah.
You know, it,
So my values were drugs and money
right,
before. That was it. I didn't value myself. I didn't value other people. I didn't value anything. So now my values are what makes my heart beat. That's God, my children, myself, my fiance. I still love my money though.
That's very much understandable. I appreciate you coming on tonight to the reentry journey, sharing your story. Somebody commented, very proud of your ability to do what you did and turn your life around. And as an addiction therapist in recovery, uh, I know how hard you worked and for what you did, and they proud of you.
Thank
Uh,
you.
really appreciate that. I think that was Sarah Jane. I don't know if you know who that is.
I
Uh,
don't,
yeah.
maybe. Oh, yes. Yeah, I do.
But
I do.
yeah, I'm really, so I'm proud of you myself. Continue the great work. Of if you need anything and you want to get together and collab on some things, whatever, feel free to
Yeah.
reach out to me. Maybe we can get together and set up some speaking of events. Here in the area. I'm in Missouri as well,
What
on the
part?
Kansas. I'm in St. Joseph,
Okay.
and
Oh, yeah,
so
you're right here.
and so we can, possibly do a seminar or a reentry class or whatever, some collab. I'm really again, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story. And thank you. Anything that we can do in the reentry journey, reach out. We do have people in here that be looking for mentors, men and women. If you would like to be a mentor, I can
Yes.
send some people your way as well. Again, thank you for coming on tonight.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. You have a good night. God bless you.
You too. Thank you. God bless you.
All right.